Good morning, Gina, and welcome to, I'm gonna say, I keep going back and forth, Rhys, Rice. Either one would be cute, to be honest. But I'm gonna go with Rhys. Welcome to Rhys's chart reading. So, I'm first gonna start with some cards. So, in your chart, there is the rising sign, which is what your soul wanted to develop into, the characteristics you wanted to embody based upon what you survived in that lifetime, right? The North Node is showing the direction you have to take to get there. I am going to be focusing on the character, the sun, right? And the rising. Which path was your child going to take to become the next evolution for their soul? So let's see here. I'm going to start with this character archetype because it gives us like the general hero's tale, the storyline. And then I'm going to pull from this character oracle that's going to give us more definitions of the hats that he has to wear in order to achieve that. So, who did Rhys come here to become? To become a sword warrior, right? Poet, teacher, warrior. Ooh, have you ever met a calm, soft person that is calm because they have been through a lot? So you never perceive that all that wisdom would be under there until you have a conversation with them. It's like this guy is going to have been through so much, right? And this is me fast forwarding to his future self, his around 30 self, with this part right here, right? I guess that's when you have your first Saturn return, when you shift into your purpose. So, having been through so much, that wisdom has been gained from those experiences that he can help other people in their situations. But it's with a beautiful, like, quiet to it. This is going to be a crazy example. But imagine you go to the bar one night, like for a party or something, and there's a guy at the end of the bar. He's like super, like, chill, just there with like a glass of wine or something. And you say something to him, and then he says like the most prophetic thing, but it's like one sentence. That's your child. Okay. We got the poet, right? And it says, expresses soul insights in symbolic language. Shadow attribute turns a lyric gift to negative or destructive effect. Teacher. He believes there's a lesson in everything. That's the energy I get from him. I think I'm an older him though. Like the energy I'm channeling right now, fairly sure. Ability to communicate knowledge, experience, skill, or wisdom. At the bottom, manipulating or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. And you know, when I'm not feeling necessarily the negative, I feel a very positive person, but I just wanted to read both parts so that you can recognize if ever the things that he is going through are starting to get him down and put him in a sour place. Seeing the beauty and the pain and the purpose behind it will be of great assistance. So maybe that's something I can help with in this reading, like explaining why, what is happening. So, warrior comes from being a survivor. I'm getting like no matter what happened, like he was able to push through. So, strength, skill. That's the second one that's emphasizing the skills, right? Discipline and toughness of will, heroicism, stoicism, and self sacrifice in conquering the ego. Um, it's like a Zen warrior monk type dude energy going on here. So let's see what hats he had to wear to get there. Who did he have to be in order to get to this position? Something about this feels very ninth house. I have the chart pulled up in the background, but I didn't want to tap into it yet. What hats did he have to, or does he have to wear in order to get here? Hard. So the first one I mentioned, the poet, right? It says something about lyrics, right? Expresses soul insight in symbolic language. This one is a bard. I kind of mentioned somebody at a bar though, right? But this is a person who performs. Focus thing. Performs in places. So he got the guitar, he's happy. Putting his words out there. It says, keeper of epic tales, told you that, ballads and legends. He has a plethora of fables in his head or anecdotes, stories that teach a lesson. Do you read to him a lot? It feels like reading might also be something that's like really important. Stories of people who have overcome stuff before him, like build a database in his head. So, Captain, he is a leader. I think that I started feeling that between the warrior and the teacher, right? But Captain is like somebody who is leading the sea, which would make sense for why he's always given like the most helpful uh, advice. There's no other way I could say it. And it says navigator of destiny, voyage, leadership, decision making, objective. But absolutely somebody who can see like, hey, this isn't working, and then direct everybody to what is working with a gentleness that works for them. Like he has a great way of explaining that doesn't make people feel belittled. Clergy, I didn't see that one coming. But didn't I say some ninth house energy? Ninth house is like spiritual gurus, spiritual retreats, professors, higher educations, things that we learn outside of the family we grew up with when we go out into the world. So clergy says guardians of faith, religion, morality, compass, sacred mission. Imagine doing one thing for half of your life, right? So that you can get in position to do the thing that your soul needs to do for your soul to evolve before the end, like to get back in the energy of what you do above. Because this is giving me seraphim energy. I wish there was an asteroid for seraphim. So seraphim are the angels that are closest to God. They are the ones that sing all day. After they dropped from that density, it became teaching and creating and poetry and all the other things. You might be dealing with a seraphim child. So what does that mean? Their bodies have a harder time adapting here to this density, to this. So let's get into this chart. Wonderful start to this. Beautiful child. So Leo rising 12th degree, crazy. That's my rising. Exactly. I know this story. And didn't I say I sent some nice ninth house energy? His moon and his Chiron, which is a past life as a healer because of that conjunction, and somebody who teaches healing to others because the moon is at the ninth degree. That's a guru. His Aries being a ninth, that's a guru. And that doesn't even have to mean that he does the same thing like I do. But kinda. It's just like he'll do it whether somebody's paying him or not. Like he's going to have a wise tale, story, anecdote just because he has lived. So let me start with this interesting bit of information after I get rid of this meeting control, because I hate that. So when you have a mission that is interpersonal, and by interpersonal, I mean between you and yourself, and you are developing within very seriously, you have lots of planets down here. That's you versus you and your finances, you and your mind, you and your family, you and your passions, you and your day-to-day life, health, and body, right? When you have planets that are in these upper houses, this is about things that are more external, like out in the world. This is you in like the world stage, you and your partnership, you in one-on-one relationships, you and your spouse, you and your other people, you and your connection to other people in difficult things. This is those beliefs that are built based on the world, the additional soul tribe you find as you go into like higher realms outside of what you initially started with, things that are usually triggered after 18, right? 10th house is you and your legacy, your career, your reputation in the world, which is where he is rising to. He wants to be well known or an authority figure for something in teaching because of Gemini. 11th house is you in the collective. And then the 12th house is you in the unconscious, right? So your child is doing very little. Although there's a lot of planets, that is interpersonal. It's like he needs to take everything that he is, just as he is, and rise to the front of the world. Like part of him is not meant to be touched by the outside world because the purity of what he is going to be bringing is going to be like outside of the box. So imagine I'll give you an example. When Tarzan came to the rest of the world, when he got out of the jungle, he stood out everywhere because the way he thought and the things he felt were completely different than everybody else. I'm just going to assume that Tarzan would have been that same sensitive creature where everybody else is still a savage. You know what I mean? That's what I am sensing here. Being able to teach other people a different way because all he knows is that other way. What just really stood out to me is you have the soul time marker here, right? Notice it's in the sign of Cancer, which bonds him to a particular family, but you have it at the 20th degree, or he has it at the 20th degree, right? His Juno is also at the 20th degree. Your child already has a wife. Why am I saying that? Juno is the wife marker, the soulmate marker, and they are bound even when they're not together. They're astrally bound, like emotionally. Like if anything ever happened to her somewhere in the world, he would physically feel it, like they are sharing energy. We have his sun at the 18th degree, right? Venus at the 18th degree, which means love is on his shoulder. Probably also, ooh, beautiful, like bone structure. I'm getting like a chiseled face here, right? But look, his Mars is also at the 18th degree. Things that are at the same degree bleed into the same channel. So part of his drive in this life is getting to that partner. The 18th degree is the degree of servitude. It is a Virgo degree, right? So imagine that your son came here and did all of this so he could find and save this particular person. That's what I'm sensing. Like he wanted to be a teacher, he wanted to be a guru. That's what he wanted to do for himself. But rising up from his fourth house, which is being tied to the family, right? To becoming someone known in his career. It's like he wanted to spin the block, grab his family, and then rise back into angelic position, but to bring his wife with him. Because it looks like she's meant to be an angel too. That's what having angel in seventh means. So imagine like he was an angel up there because we're created in angelic pairs. He's a seraphim angel and he has his singing partner with him. His singing partner gets stuck down here, stuck in her cycle. So he volunteers. That's what the sixth house is and the 18th degree. He volunteered to come here. And his path has been delayed purposefully. Like he wanted that. I'm saying that because you see this Saturn, which is the restrictor, the thing that I said is, or the energy that is not released till after 30. Remember I said I felt like older him here, but it's because he held back stepping into that leadership position until I believe he came across this person because it's conjunct his descendant. That's his marriage house. Like he might get married before he finds out his place in his career. He finds out his place in life. He like might do other things because there are two energies here, right? His life takes two different tiers. We got this part right here as a leader. Second part as a healer. Up here in his career house. Who I did see something about a bit of a hedonist, right? But this is an artist, which is the same thing as Leo sort of being an artist, a creative, right? And then the second part, after he discovers the family, likely in a foreign land or while he's out there exploring himself, to become a teacher. This is his first time trying to teach. The other times he was sort of just experiencing only. So the ultimate goal here, I'm saying, you see this Pluto, that's your big transformation energy, like what all the trauma and difficulty is leading up to, is right next to Reiki. Imagine experiencing or going through something so that you had the ability to heal it or recognize it in others, or it becomes an important part of your tale in order to be a testimony. That's what I'm getting here. Like this is the house of health. And this Aquarius area is like blood stuff, circulation, the way that stuff moves, where Capricorn is skin, bones, teeth, nails. The delay is for the mindset that he has. He's developing a partnership mindset through his delays and the stuff he's having to deal with in health. So, what if his partner's sort of wayward? Like, what if he finds this person and they're like somebody who's on drugs? So he has to be extremely sympathetic and very hand-holdy with them. I did just come up with that, was it an analogy? That story there about, hey, imagine you come into a bar and you're all rowdy and stuff. You out with your friends and there's this quiet guy at the end of the bar just sipping some wine. with his beautiful chiseled cheekbones, right? So I didn't notice at first that this Neptune was also at the 20th degree. This is a going down to rise back up for a particular person mission. I have no doubt about it because that 20th degree Neptune means that his antenna is set on clearing that out. The Pisces energy rules your past life. Maybe last time he did not help her. That is very likely because Uranus is the big radical change that you make in your chart, the change you make in your storyline. According to this, he did not believe something that was prophesied over him, and it threw everything off in his last lifetime. This lifetime, the change he wanted to make was that he was not so high and mighty when he rose up where he was in his career, because it looks like he was an artist, he was a performer, he was an entertainer, right? That he would not get so high up that he did not listen, like his mind did not let it in. And it turns out that that person that came to give him that prophecy was the girl. So he's redoing a whole life because he got off track last time. So this whole sixth house is about humility and him remembering that he's of service. So he's going to be, I don't want to say victim to, but he's going to be subject to many highs and lows from now through around the time that Saturn return happens. So that no matter how high he gets up in his career, because he's meant to be well known, right? He'll always remain that level of humble or humility will always be through him. So that when she does come around, when these situations do come into play, he'll still have his own angelic nature and he'll listen to whatever the warning or the tale that he tells her is. Because pulling their family together is a very important part of what he wanted here. His rising is ruled by Pisces, by Neptune. So clearing that last load and going home in union with his partner after doing something really good in his career based upon his ability to shine light on other people's darkness after having to deal with his own internally. Also, his relationship with you is really important. You teach him a lot of stuff about healing and about overcoming and just being empowered within himself. He thinks like a partner. He thinks of other people. He thinks in a pair. So you are sort of setting the stage for him being a better husband and spouse, which was really important to him because his Jupiter is at the second degree. That's the supreme power degree. That means he's able to build right there. But he starts building with all the past life energy that has been backed up or blocked to him as soon as he becomes a spouse. And hanging out with you is sort of giving him all the pieces that will allow him to be the guy that he wanted to come here to be. So that's interesting. Have a great day.